There will be bank failures, but this is not the big banks. If you look at the very big banks, it's not a first-order issue for any of the very large banks. It's more, smaller and medium-sized banks that have these issues. We're working with them. We're getting through it. I think it's manageable is the word I would use, but it's a very active thing for us and the other regulators, and it will be for some time.
Troubled base Philadelphia bank Republic First Bank was collapsed and was seized by state regulators. Fulton Bank reached an agreement with regulators to take over Republic's first nearly 36 branches in Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and New York. They will reopen under the Fulton Bank name. This branch in Media already has a temporary sign-up. This is the first regional banking failure this year.
This just came out. JP Chase and Bank of America, two of the largest banks, suffer a lot, a huge loss. What is that, like over $4 billion, $4 trillion? It's woo, a lot. Yeah, 4.5 billion. Yeah, the two largest banks in the U.S. say they expect to lose a collective of $4.5 billion from customers who can't pay their bills. I know that is. No, times are tough. Every month I struggle to make my car payment now. Still don't have it. I'm not worried though. I know everything will work out, and I know we're going home soon. But for the first time, one of my credit cards, I couldn't pay them the whole amount due. I had to pay them like half. And now they're like, hey, we kind of need our money. And I'm like, oh, hey, I could put water in a flower pot and see if money grows, but it doesn't. So I can't. It's like they think I just don't want to pay them. Well, I can't pay them. Car payment, oh, it's something to work out. I say, Christians know why this has happened. We're not going to be here much longer, guys. JP Chase says that its net charge-offs, which are debts that the bank does not expect to receive, hit $2 billion. $2 billion in the first quarter of this year. Just in the first quarter of this year. That's nearly twice the amount of unrecoverable debt compared to the same quarter last year. And I know people that still support Biden. If this is Build Back Better, I'd hate to see what their ideal force is. Meanwhile, Bank of America reported $1.5 billion in net charge-offs, a surge from $807 million a year prior. BOFA says those losses stem mainly from credit card debt that will likely never be paid.
New at 2, we have learned Tesla is laying off more than 3,300 employees in California. The majority of them are in the Bay Area. More than 2,700 employees work in Fremont and Palo Alto. This is according to the California Employment Development Department. The remaining employees work in Burbank and Lathrop. The layoffs will begin in June. We have reached out to Tesla for comment. We are waiting for a response, and we'll keep you posted.
We reported Tuesday on teacher shortages around the country. Florida's vacancy count was among the highest in the nation. So why then, a writer for the Tampa Bay Times asks, are schools cutting jobs? Missoula, Montana public schools are also facing layoffs, the worst in a generation, according to their superintendent. Also cutting staff, school districts for Fort Worth, Texas, and San Diego. The Northwest Indiana district announced it's closing 3 elementary schools on top of previous announced layoffs. District employees spoke out against the decision Tuesday night.
And Oregon's largest school district now facing a $30 million deficit and talking about cutting hundreds of jobs.
So tonight, the school board met for a budget meeting to outline some key factors. And our Joyce O'Geary spent hours there tonight. Let's bring her in live now. Joyce, what were teachers saying?
Well, teachers are upset, Liz, and they hope that the district will spend more money on jobs that will directly impact students.
No cuts, no fear. Libraries are needed here. Portland Public Schools to rethink how they're doing these cuts, rethink their priorities.
Tonight, a massive cut announced by the Portland Public Schools interim superintendent. Dr. Sandy Huss says $30 million is getting slashed from the budget.
Our state dollars continue to fall short of the cost it takes to operate our schools. In addition to the federal pandemic aid ending, we also have some special revenues that come through us from some other federal sources that are declining.
Dr. Husk says declining student enrollment is also making a significant impact in the district. Portland Public Schools says they've seen a nearly 10% drop in enrollment since 2020.
We would be facing reductions even if we had adequate state dollars.
The district says more than 200 positions will be eliminated. Some of the jobs looking to be cut include library assistants and physical education specialists.
We have been fighting so hard to get everything that our students need, and they just keep providing us with less and less. I feel like next year in my building, we're going to have a skeleton staff.
It's a disservice to the community. Our general ed kids, our kids with special needs. We have a lot of kids that can't even go into a gym because of the sensory needs they have.
These budget cuts comes months after the PPS board and teachers union approved a contract last November following a month-long strike. Tonight, board members brought their concerns to the table on who would be most impacted by budget cuts.
We're balancing our budget on the backs of the black and brown staff, that we're balancing our budget on the backs of those that are most marginalized, that we're balancing our budgets on the backs of those in the most need. That may not be the case, but again, I want to see the data that would tell me that I'm wrong.
Sort of walk through them. I think there's, very legitimate concerns parents have when there's a significant change to a child who has vulnerabilities.
And there will be opportunities to give public testimony next month. The board will adopt the final budget in June. Live in downtown Portland, Joyce O'Geary, KOIN 6 News.
All right, Joyce, thank you for that update tonight.
Over $7 for a gallon of gas. That's how much a Menlo Park gas station is charging. Let me show you exact numbers here. $7.09 for regular gas, $7.45 for Plus, and $7.69 for Supreme. That's at least $1 more than nearby gas stations are charging and well above the state average of $5.42. So what's going on? AAA says gas stations set their own prices, and a lot actually depends on when they buy their gas.
If their parent company or the individual gas station buys their gas wholesale, when oil is really expensive and gas is really expensive, they're going to have to sell it at that price in order to make a profit.
AAA is attributing high gas prices to these three reasons: high demand, the cost of summer grade gas, and the price of oil. If you're searching for the cheapest gas, watch Today in the Bay. Our Mike Inouye is tracking the lowest price per gallon in the Bay Area.
The Supreme Court takes up a case today that could influence how cities across the country confront the issue of homelessness. The case involves whether homeless people can be fined. ABC's Terry Moran has more.
This morning, the Supreme Court is tackling its biggest case on homelessness in more than 40 years, as cities and towns across the country struggle to deal with more and more people living on the streets.
For all intents and purposes, a lot of the behavior you see here today is illegal.
At the center of the case is Grants Pass, a small city of 40,000 in southwest Oregon. In the parks around town, hundreds of homeless people have set up encampments. In 2013, the city cracked down, local officials citing unsanitary conditions and crime, banning anyone sleeping in public from using a blanket, pillow, or cardboard box. Penalties included civil fines and a potential 30-day jail term for repeat offenders. But with no public shelters in Grants Pass, a group of homeless residents sued the city in federal court, arguing that the law is unconstitutional because it violates the 8th Amendment's ban on cruel and unusual punishment.
Criminalizing people for being homeless is not the solution.
The case has huge implications for the rest of the country. So many communities are swamped by homeless encampments, which are often rife with unsanitary conditions, drug use, untreated mental illness, and crime.
These encampments in California are unacceptable.
These homeless camps overwhelm just the quality of life.
But advocates say the homeless have nowhere else to go.
Criminalizing the victims of our failed housing policy is morally wrong, and it's unconstitutional, and that's essentially what the city of Grants Pass has done by making it illegal for someone to exist while being homeless.
After over 5 years living in Parks before a nearby church took her in, Helen Cruz telling our Devin Dwyer she received more than $5,000 in camping-related fines.
I was holding down 2 jobs when I was out here, and still not enough to be able to rent a place. Their terms of low-income housing here is $1,000 a month, and that's not workable either, you know.